Destin Fire Control District Board of Fire Commissioners meeting to order. We're at 848 here at Airport Road, Destin, Florida, December 8, 2020 at 5:30 p.m. This meeting is open to the public, and we want to start off with employee recognitions. Chief?
Yes, sir. I don't think we have any this month. As soon as we can, this COVID thing, we're going to try to bring them all in. Although we'll be recognizing someone else right after this, but I think that's very important that we have that recognition, but none tonight, sir.
Okay. Moving right along to recognition for Luther's Pontoon. John?
Yes, sir. As the commission knows, our boat's up in Seattle, and when our boat went out of commission, Luther volunteered to allow us to utilize his personal boat for our folks to be able to rescue individuals, have a platform to be able to operate off of out of Crab Island, where the bulk of our responses come from during the summer. With his assistance and the use of his boat, we made hundreds of rescues, saved all those lives, and if it hadn't been for Luther helping us, Luther's Pontoons and John helping us get on the water, stay on the water, we might not have been able to facilitate all those rescues and might not save the lives we did. We felt that it was very important for us to recognize John and his company for providing that asset to us throughout the whole season. We know that in his business, there's a cost associated with it. We actually talked to John about compensating him for that, and he would not allow us to do that. Did not want to take any monetary compensation in any way for allowing us to utilize his boat to be able to facilitate this rescue. So we felt the least we could do was to recognize him in one of our meetings and provide him with something that we felt would, at least in some small way, show him our gratitude for allowing us to be able to utilize it. And you had that in front of you. If you don't mind providing it to him, Mr. Chairman, that would be fantastic.
John, thank you so much. We greatly appreciate it.
No worries.
It's been a lot to us.
I would,
Okay.
if you guys, so we can actually see. Okay, thank you.
Appreciate it, John.
No,
Thank you
thank
very
you.
much. I mean,
Thank you.
thank you very, very
I
much.
told you it wouldn't take too long, John, but
If you need a boat.
I really appreciate
yeah,
it,
we
guys.
say.
And if y'all need a boat next year, if it's not ready, y'all let me know. The boat's waiting for you.
Yeah.
And as much as y'all's people will help all of our customers, all the locals and tourists out there, I'm just glad I can help out in a little bit of way. So
We want you to know that we're very appreciative, and that's just a small token of our appreciation.
I love it. I really do. I appreciate it so much.
John,
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
John.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Pleasure. All right, guys. Y'all have a good rest of y'all day.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's really cool. Take care, guys.
All right, thank you. That's pretty awesome.
He's good to do that.
Yeah, that's good.
Can we get that on our website?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was a big plus.
Good guy.
That saved us. So the public, please remember Luther's Pontoon Rentals.
We'll make sure we get the high traffic out more.
All right, moving to public comments. I'd like to open the floor up for public comments. Seeing no public comments, the floor is closed. Public comments. Review of the minutes, regular meeting, November 10th, 2020.
I move we approve minutes of the regular meeting on November 10th, 2020. Second.
A motion to approve in a second. Any changes, deletions, discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? Unanimous. Financial report, November 30th, 2020. Catherine?
The financial report in front of you is reflecting the 2 months ending November 30th, 2020. I do want to make sure that the board knows that our records have been almost completely adjusted for our fiscal year end. There is one entry left to do, which is for our pension liability. Inflows and outflows of revenue, income, and liability need to go on our books. So the auditors will assist with that. The auditors are here at the district this week going through the books. And I think it's important to mention that The liability for the pension fund is down to $4.7 million. The district has been very aggressive paying down the unfunded liability, and with good market conditions this past year, we've seen a substantial decline, approximately $2 million in that unfunded liability. So that's good. As far as the report for the 2 months, everything's in line. Cash position strong. We've begun to receive ad valorem taxes. Accounts receivable are in good shape, and revenues or expenditures are in line with adopted budget. So if there's any questions on any of the items, I can address those.
I just have to comment on being 85.2% funded. That puts us in probably the top 1% of all special districts, municipalities in this whole damn country. I think it's
1%.
fantastic.
That's correct, buddy. Very good. Very, very good.
That's fantastic.
And that's thanks to board members and Catherine.
Yep.
And everybody involved, so greatly appreciate that.
Motion to approve the financial report for November 30th, 2020.
We got a motion to approve the financial report November 30th, 2020 in a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. All right, moving into old business, West End District Station update. Chief or Mike?
Both, you have two documents in front of you. We have been in contact with Trustmark, and with that said, I'd like to go, Trustmark requested or asked that we use a public finance attorney. We spoke with DC in his office. Recommendation was George Smith. You have an engagement letter in front of you from George Smith's office. George Smith, a little bit of history, George Smith does all the deals, purchasing, financing contracts for Okaloosa County School Board. They also assisted Ocean City with their purchase of their property on Racetrack, and they're assisting Forosa and have assisted Forosa with their purchase of property and their fire station, as well as help them with their increase in their millage rate. So he's very familiar, very experienced in this area, been doing it an extremely long time, and he's one that's utilized in this area. So with the recommendation of DC's office, as well as his experience, we would like for the board to move forward approving George Smith as our attorney to assist us in this purchase.
Catherine, should we maybe make a comment on background as to why we're not doing a competitive bid for this proposal? Can we do that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Catherine pulled up all the documents that we needed to look at how we move forward. We thought we had to go to RFP for this.
Right.
And we were trying to figure out, is it a commodity purchase or is it contract services? And in doing that stuff, we kind of fell into an emergency procurement that was unknown and unanticipated and caused by changes by other people, not us. So when the city refused to vote on the Clement Taylor Park issue, we got basically said, you ain't coming here. And we know that there's very, very little land on the water. We had the opportunity to get this one. So our position was, this is an emergency procurement. Catherine took that to DC. He looked at it and said, yeah, I agree with you. So we don't have to go through the RFP process. We're very comfortable with Trustmark. Chief Catherine and I met with them when the last time we had a loan, which was 2006,
Correct.
was Trustmark. And we've had a good relationship with them. So we went to our best guys and said, so let's get this done. So, and then with that, the other piece that fell in is we found out we have to have a public finance attorney help get our documents right. So that's this piece here. Does that kind of close it up?
That's correct. And the reason you need a public finance attorney is because this acquisition is not secured by a mortgage, by real estate. It is secured by ad valorem taxes. And per the Florida statutes, you're not allowed to go beyond a year of committing ad valorem taxes. So with that, a special arrangement has to be made for the financing, where comes in a public finance attorney.
Thank you. Thanks for that.
So do you need a vote on whether or not we can, I move that we accept management's recommendation to engage Bryant Miller Olive to help us through this transaction.
Second.
So,
Okay, so I get a motion to approve this engagement in a second. Any further discussion? So I do see though that there's a performance clause basically with the fees.
yes, sir, that's correct. And meaning that in order for him to get paid, the loan has to close. Now, because we are asking him to perform something in a very short order for us by the 28th of this month. So we're already in this month, we're just started to engaging, and he has 28 days in order to be able to accomplish what we're asking him to do, which he can. He's made that very clear. Some of it might not necessarily be, if they're not able to close, if it's the bank or if it's someone else, it might not be in
Please
his.
stop to the kitchen and enjoy
Yeah, would you please, ma'am?
some broccoli. Some potatoes.
So with that said, some of it might not be the performance, might be that he's ready to go. He's done everything he can, make it happen on the 28th. If it doesn't close, normally he wouldn't be paid at all. But because we're asking to do a short order, if it becomes an issue with the bank or someone else that's not on his fault, then we will pay him $5. Because we are asking for it. If this is going to be a 9 to 10 month ordeal, where there's plenty of time involved, then it would be a sink or swim deal.
Okay, that's fair.
But there is performance on it. For him to fully collect the school fee, he'll have to close 128.
I like that. Anything else? All right, move the vote.
On that topic.
All right, all in favor? Unanimous.
Yes, sir. Then there's probably two other things that we need to kind of cover is one, as Commissioner Wilson mentioned, Trustmark, that's who we've engaged to try to accomplish this purchase and to get the loan for the purchase is through Trustmark. We just want to make sure that pretty much the consensus of the board in a meeting that this board's good with us moving forward with Trustmark. I mean, it's not necessarily a vote, but
Yeah,
Yeah,
pretty much the
I like the
consensus.
Trustmark. That-
Let's maybe formalize it with a motion that
That would be
gives
great.
management air cover that they are off the ranch.
I'll entertain a motion.
I recommend then that we approve management's decision to move forward with Trustmark based on our longstanding and current relationship with them and the timeline that we've got that we're working on under the emergency procurement provisions of our charter. Okay.
I got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Outstanding. I appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. Then
Your
the-
feet are dry now, chief.
Yes, sir. I was kind of starting to sink. So, with that said, last time we had, before you reference this topic, is an amendment that Mr. Schutz has asked for the board to approve. You have that in front of you. You can see there's several things that are there. One's the 1031, as well as the closing date of the 28th.
That's pretty standard 1031 exchange, so I understand that.
So move.
second.
All right, got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? That's unanimous.
Then we'll do everything we can within our power to ensure this thing closes on the 28th. As I mentioned to individual commissioners, as I kind of talked to you, just kind of keeping you up to speed, keep kind of in the loop. Mr. Smith feels very confident he can get his part done. We've spoken with the bank, they feel very confident that he can get the loan done by the 28th. So we're shooting that that's what's going to happen. And we'll be using DC's assistance to ensure that it does happen on the real estate part. So we feel confident we can make this thing happen on 28th.
And just so that everybody understands the 1031 exchange, it's basically he's finding a like property that he's exchanging the money for, so he reduces his tax exposure.
Right, it's tax exposure.
Yeah.
Right. Which on our side, we,
It doesn't
it's not
matter.
gonna, it's not
Yeah,
gonna.
it doesn't matter
affect
to
us.
us.
As far
We
as
don't pay
purchase-
for it, we don't
Right.
do anything.
Right.
Just let the public know.
Yes, sir, thank you. You were familiar with that than I am,
Yeah.
for sure.
Okay, is that all for the resident station?
Yes, sir. Unless Commissioner Buckingham has anything he'd like to add.
No, sir, got, plans that are being drawn up. I met with the engineer again yesterday, to give us a footprint of a building that we're gonna be able to put on to house the equipment. And as we spoke before, we're gonna retro the existing bay house, for the housing itself, of the staff. So after the 28th, once we have the possession of it, Mike is gonna allow us to go in there with no problem, do some measuring, kind of get some ideas, things that I can bring back to the board, with some ideas for the chief and I, to kind of get your approval on a few little things here and there. And then once we come up with a footprint for the building to house the equipment, then we'll bring that back to the board for some approvals too.
Sounds good. I love it.
I'm
Moving forward.
excited. I'm
I am
really
too.
excited.
All right, if that's it, moving into chief's reports, beach safety updates. Joe?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The 2021 schedule is set. We start our first swims on February 6th, and we already have, I know.
Wow.
It goes quick.
Break it all in between,
Short one, next week. We're already recruiting. We already have a bunch of young ladies and young men wanting to start for that first swim. So other than that, usually this time of year, I'm really busy with the selling of the assets, the four-wheelers and the wave runners, with everything that's going on. I spoke with the county and KM Cycle and Marine today. There is a big delay in getting vehicles, assets. That's not just us, that's everybody. So to my understanding is they've got some vehicles coming in. There's other government agencies, and we're gonna have to do our best to get what we can get. We haven't sold the assets from last year, so we still have.
Yeah, that's a global supply chain problem.
It is.
It is, yeah.
It is. And we're gonna feel that to some extent. So, but if you have any other questions on beach safety, I'm happy to
Don't
answer.
give up the old tool.
Yeah.
No, we're not. No, we haven't. No, and we've done some scrubbing and polishing.
You're gonna be walking if you're not careful.
Good. Well, Joe, thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Thank you.
Moving into the training report.
Yes, sir, you'll see that the firefighters were able to attain 35 hours in those various subjects there. As was mentioned at the last board meeting that we had upcoming training in the month of November, we did host a high-rise training over at Silver Shells. Those folks there are great to work with. They were in the process of painting and doing some remodel and flooring. So we were actually able to, in the past, we've kind of had to go dry hose with it. So that means we could still hook up their systems and all that. We just couldn't actually spray water. This time with remodeling that's taking place and refacing it and a lot of stuff they were doing, they actually let us pump their system and spray water off the 10th floor, which that is phenomenal for this area in the fact that we could actually be up floors. Our driver has to pump up to the 10th floor, so things go into that. And then, operating our firefighters in that tighter space and spraying water and that kind of stuff. So I think it was great training. We covered a variety of topics that are associated with high-rise smoke alarm systems and all kinds of other stuff. So I thought it was outstanding training. All the feedback we received from all the other fire departments to kind of come over because, all the fire departments in the whole Panhandle, really, we probably have more high rises, well, not probably, we do, more high rises than anyone. So I think it was outstanding training. Everybody's very appreciative. But our appreciation truly goes to Silver Shells for allowing us to be able to utilize their facilities. This is twice now we've been able to do so. It's the first time we've been able to spray water, twice we've been able to do so, and they've been accommodating every time. So great folks over there, great folks over there.
Which building were we in?
The far right. So coming into the property,
Yeah.
far right, closest to kind of June Decker.
Yep, got it.
I can't remember which one of those saints it is.
That's a rental building, so it's mostly empty right now.
And that's why they're probably doing all the remodel and stuff. Yep. So anyway, you'll see that was part of the training that was here. But the folks were able to accomplish 35 hours. Again, that's 15 hours over what we would normally expect. And they did it in the month of November, which is outstanding. Because with Thanksgiving and everything else that takes place in that month. So.
Chief, is there I've been seeing a lot of issues with electrical vehicle fires and hybrid fires.
Mhm.
I know there's special training for that. Are we looking into doing something with that?
We had specialized training in that area with hybrid vehicles, but that's probably been a while. And with that type of training, we typically run it through the same thing we did in high-res training. As fire departments in our area, we belong to a JTC, and we'll spend like $500 and put it all into a pot, and then we bring in specialized training. And then we'll do a quarterly training together, high-rise being one. That was one of the trainings that we did a couple of years ago. So I'm glad you brought it up. It's not one that we've had in a while. We do it, but not necessarily hands-on. We'll go through and do an online training through our Target Solutions software in the company there. They have that training specifically to electric vehicles. But we would like to bring somebody in and do the discussion. So I'm glad you brought it up, and I'll make sure we run that through JTC so all the fire departments are able to accomplish it.
Yeah, I would think the batteries are the concern.
Absolutely it is.
Yeah.
The wiring,
And the wiring.
what I understand is that 30% of fire departments have, only 30% of all the fire departments in the nation have training at this moment on electric vehicles. And
Wow.
with the growth of that, it's something that's gonna have to, you never know, somebody might be driving around and going around.
Yeah, well, then all electric.
Somebody in this room may be driving around.
Yeah, well, the difference is what we trained on 20 years ago wasn't necessarily an all-electric vehicle. It was a hybrid.
Yeah.
So it was the fuel and.
Fire and gasoline, so the
Right.
electrical fire, yeah.
Right, so now with being an all-electric vehicle, we haven't had that, so that's something that we'll need to schedule for. So thank you, Commissioner Green, for bringing it up, and I'll ensure that we get that on our slate to get accomplished in this coming year.
Please.
Yes, sir.
I think that's a very good idea.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, 'cause I think Ford's coming out next year with their first pickup truck.
Yeah, pickup truck.
So they're coming.
Yeah.
Sure, thank you.
All right. Inspection report.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Get my report in front of you. Just an update on the Charles over there by Big Kahunas. They are getting the slab work done now. The modular buildings are actually being staged in the Big Kahunas parking lot and stuff. So if you want to ride by, you can go by and look at them before they take and set them in and put them in place and all. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that goes as far as the 3 stories and all. So.
Is that, what is that facility? I saw those modulars coming in on trucks. I have no idea why they're bringing all these double wides back there.
Yeah, it actually looks like a trailer is what it looks like. So
Manufactured home.
they will set them in place and stack them together and bolt them down. And they got sprinkler systems already installed in them, all the, fans and lights and everything.
Apartment complex, is that what it is?
Yes, sir.
Mind blowing.
I remember when they
See how
brought
fast
in,
those things go up.
when they brought in, what's across here?
Sandpiper Cove. I remember when
They
they brought that in.
brought in on barges
And barges.
to the harbor
Yeah.
and offloaded them and putting them on
Yeah.
island.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I remember that happening.
Yeah, but those were built with a hammer and a real hammer and 5 nails.
Yeah.
Yeah. Those things are tough.
These are coming from Pennsylvania is where they're being built at. And they're trucked all the way down.
Amish.
Well, yeah.
So.
Could be.
And the other project there, the Microtel, which is going to be going right there by Smart Bank, they've started the ground clearing on it and started running the underground lines and stuff on it. So it's starting to move forward a little bit on it. It's been slow go. So. If you have any other questions,
Just want to help out on some impact fees. That's what.
we did collect the impact fee from the Charles too. So we just got
How
that
much
in
was that?
last week.
660.
It was a total of right at 70 because we'd already collected one building, so
But
just
that,
shy of 70.
yeah, but that included plan review fees
Plan
also,
review
so
fee
it was
also.
less than that.
Are you seeing a slowdown in just development plans or?
A little bit during this time, and it normally does it every year, around the Thanksgiving holidays and Christmas and all, where all the workers kind of start slowing down a little bit, and then January it'll be back to,
Back already.
yes,
We're running out of buildings.
yes.
So when you bring them on trucks, they don't last so long.
Yeah. Now we gotta start to tear down and rebuild.
Exactly.
Every other community's done, yeah.
We got one coming on Sybert and Kelly. They were talking about it in the city last night. Some of the homes, so that's good. More good. All right, any other questions? Awesome, all right. Thanks, Matt.
Thank you, Matt.
Overtime report.
Yes, sir. Overall, it was really well, only 16 hours last month. You can see that was predominantly just one block of 14, where we ended up having to bring an officer in. I can't remember specifically what it was, but overall, it's, you can see that's all the way through the whole year, through November, and then we'll have this month when we get through, but, you know, that's for 69 hours so far throughout the whole year. I think we've done extremely well.
Yeah, excellent.
Extremely well.
Best I've ever seen.
Yes, sir.
Any questions? All right. Thanks, Chief.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, moving into new business. Appoint resident member to Board of Trustees, seat 3, which expires 12/31/2021.
One of the trustees is,
That-
unfortunately, yeah, what did you say? Unfortunately, one of our trustees is moving out of the district. So we're going to lose him, but actually we gaining because he's sitting in a resident seat right now. So when he moves out, he has to come off the board in that seat. What we're hoping is that the other trustees, because of Mr. Harvey's passing, his spot is open. His spot is a non-resident position or can be open to anyone, but it doesn't have to be a resident. So what we're hoping is that he can be reappointed into that position. We're hoping that the trust will do that. Their intent is to do that at the next meeting. Now, with that said, that opens up a resident position. You'll see both of them, I believe, are up for either reappointment. One can't be reappointed, the other one can. We're going to ask, as you'll see, one of the items there is to reappoint Mr. O'Neill. And we went out searching for the other resident. We put out flyers everywhere, sent out emails, posted on Facebook site. We've only received one person's resume that was like to fill the position. Let the board look through his resume. We don't see the financial background as we do with some of the others for investment purposes. But you can see he has some governmental experience. And I believe he currently sits on the, believe it or not, Parks and Rec Committee. Commissioner Wagner and I did speak to him when we were going around getting signatures for support for the station at Clement Taylor. And we actually spoke to this gentleman, and as he said, he was the only, Brian said he was the only member of the Parks and Rec that actually supported us being at the park, believe it or not. He said his voice kind of fell on deaf ears. Seemed to be a really nice guy when we spoke to him around there, but he doesn't necessarily have the financial experience that we've looked for in the past.
Is this Brian that you're talking
Got the name that you see, the resume that you see. I can't pronounce his last name.
Leesveld.
Well, it says
He may not have a finance background, but he's got a lot of good general business.
Yes, sir, he does.
He's done a lot.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just reading on that.
Sometimes different eyes looking at it, just good. Different.
Again, my knowledge of him, other than what is in his resume, we did have that conversation with him when we were getting signatures. He supported us, he signed for the signatures, and told us a little bit about his history, which you see, his background, which you see in front of you on his resume. I mean, he's been on city boards and some other things around the country.
I'm kind of sort of agreeing with you, Jack. He's got a little bit of knowledge here. At least it shows he's done quite a bit in this thing.
But we have professional fund managers and actuaries, and they're supposed to know all their stuff.
Exactly.
And we need people that just can crawl BS on it when it doesn't make any sense. So they need to be really grounded in what's going on outside our little world of the fire department, the general market, general economics, all that kind of stuff. And be able to kind of keep them centered, I think.
Mhm.
And if he's not a CPA, I could care less. We got those, right? So that's just my 2 cents.
And if things happen, well, first, if the board reappoints Mr. O'Neill, we know Mr. O'Neill's background is in investments.
Right.
Okay, and help me with the.
Mark Duchamp.
Catherine, have you
That's
met
right,
with
thank you. I'm sorry, and Mr. Duchamp's experience is the same, is in investments and those kind of things. So if nothing else, he's replacing, not technically, but in theory, he's replacing Mr. Harvey,
John?
who didn't have the same thing, didn't have the experience in the investment, but had the grounded experience in business. So, I mean, you kind of end up with a similar mix to what we had before.
I don't have a problem with it.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thanks, sir.
I'll second it.
Second.
All right, got a motion to approve.
Yep.
Any further discussion? I guess, how you pronounce his last name? Leesville?
Leesville.
Mr.
Leavelle.
Yeah,
Either Swedish or Iceland or one of the.
just so that we know who we're voting for.
Yeah, he lives right around the corner from me, but don't hold that against him.
Okay. All right, any other discussion? Seeing none, take a vote, all in favor? Unanimous?
To appoint Mr. Leesville to seat 3. And then we just need to reappoint Mr. O'Neill as well, if that would be okay.
I move that we reappoint Jared O'Neill for another term on the
Second.
pension board.
You got a motion second to reappoint trustee Jared O'Neill. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote. All in favor? Like, unanimous?
And Jerry's been a tremendous benefit to have him on that. I mean, and he's been the sheriff, so a couple of times.
Yeah, he's good, yeah. All right, moving on to interlocal beach safety agreement with the city of Destin.
Yes, so you have that in front of you for this little bit. They did adjust it somewhat to kind of try to match what some of the county's timeframes requirements are. They had quite a few questions, Joe and I were able to answer all of those. And there's just some minor adjustments, but nothing of any great detail that we need to report to the board on. So the Zimmer agreement is very similar to the previous.
We're still running the same days.
There were things that they did inquire about, which, as we explained to them, those things come with a cost. And of course, then those things didn't change.
Never get mad when they ask.
Yeah, they can ask, but it absolutely comes with some additional costs, like, could we be out there earlier on Noriega Point or stay later, as far as the season's concerned, and we say, of course.
We can do anything, but there's a cost
There
associated with
is
doing it.
always a cost associated, so.
We're-
And we don't mind providing that, it was never an issue of whether we would do it or not. But absolutely, we'd love to do it, but it would come across with an additional cost. And the county is actually, if you remember back when, 2 years ago, right after they finished putting the sand back and armoring Noriega Point, the concern was everybody's going to start to utilize it, which they have begun. We think it's going to even become more utilized once there becomes restrooms there and they have those facilities. But for right now, if you remember back, once they finished, we were able, the TDC said, well, we need to put lifeguards on it, and they gave us some money to be able to do so. So the city really isn't paying for that, the TDD's kind of paying for it as it is now, as we staff it. As is in the city's agreement, we're kind of putting them in those certain places, and that's what their funds are attributed to, at their public beach accesses.
Well, it just seems that if they want us there earlier or later in the season, it's because we have more tourist business early and late, which is a huge revenue source to this county. So it's not a bad thing.
No, sir, not at all.
We're more than willing to do that as long as they're willing to pay for it.
Agree.
and they're getting more bed tax, so it should be a money
The
maker.
percentage, that's right, and, yeah, they keep us at that, unfortunately, that 10% of the 1 penny is what we're getting. I can't remember which penny it is, but it is 10% of that penny. It can be, not us specifically,
Yeah.
public safety. So that means it's not, dust and fire isn't only in it, the sheriff's office gets it, and so does the county takes it and utilizes part of it for their beach safety service. So that 10% is split between 3 agencies. However, I will say, we do cover 7 miles of beach and provide a ton of lifeguards. I say a ton, quite a few lifeguards. And we receive more funding than the other 2, but they cover 3 miles of beach, and the sheriff doesn't put out as much staffing as we do to cover the 7. So their funding is for, utilized a little differently than what we utilize ours for. So yeah, more money were to come in, we'd absolutely be more than happy to, provide more staff, or keep it there longer, or put it out sooner. But our recommendation would be to approve the agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second, got a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with the city of Destin with beach safety. Any further discussion? Seeing none, take a vote, all in favor? I see unanimous. All right, move that along, chief. All right, resolution 21-03, the amendment to 2020-2021 adopted budget.
Yes, sir, with everything that we're trying to accomplish in this year, as these things kind of came up on us in such a hurry with the property and became available for us, we're moving forward in an emergency manner to accomplish this. We're going to have to make adjustments to our budget, and I'll let Ms. Catherine kind of go through the resolution as well as the adjustments that need to be made.
The resolution is laying out, the resolution is necessary this time, where typically we don't do a resolution because we're increasing the revenue, the total revenue, the total apportions, as well as the total expenditures. So per our rules and procedures, we are required to do this by resolution. You'll see the chart with the budget amendments that lays out where specifically what is being adjusted. We're picking up debt proceeds of $2.5 million. And then the expenditures, workers' compensation, which we went through last board meeting, there's an increased cost for that. Retirement contributions is being reduced. This is part of the excess contribution we give to the unfunded liability, and we're reducing that to be able to pay the debt proceed, the debt payment, the principal and the interest. So that's where the payment is coming from. And then we're picking up the land. We're adjusting the building because we're in a different capital acquisition than we were when we were dealing with the city and the proposed station there at the park. The expenditures are adjusted. They will be, if adopted, they'll be adopted and take effect immediately. Any questions? I can answer those.
Move that we approve the amended budget for 2021.
Second.
We have a motion to approve amending the 2021 adopted budget. I get a second. Any further discussion? I see none. Take a vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you for doing that. All right, moving to proposed 2021 meeting dates. I guess we're also talking about our weekly schedule meeting as well, correct?
Yes, the dates before you on the same setup that we currently have, the second Tuesday of every month at 5:30. And then come June, we start to include in those meetings our budget workshops. When we get to September, we make sure that there's no conflicts with the county school board or other entities. And as long as we stick with this schedule, we're not going to, everyone's kind of set with their schedules and we don't adjust them. So what's proposed is will keep us on the same schedule. And this doesn't have to be voted on, just a consensus, and we'll get it advertised and we'll continue with our meetings.
I got a question.
Mhm.
Once we, get our new location up and running, can we hold a couple meetings there or anything like that?
Sure.
Is that a big
We'll-
to-do to change?
No.
We'll just have to-
Just have to advertise?
We'll just have to re-advertise because it'll be a new location.
Yeah.
As long as it's a public facility that, is compliant with ADA regulations and can accept the public, then there will be no problem with that.
Perfect. I just thought it
No.
was a big deal to change it.
No, it's not.
Okay.
That's a good idea.
Pardon?
That's a good idea.
All right, looks good to me.
Kathy, could you email the schedule out to us so we don't have to like write it all down, get it on my calendar? So
Absolutely.
Thank you.
I'm good with it.
I'll go with it. I'm sitting here looking at it.
Me too.
Okay. You got it, Catherine? You good?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, the next regular scheduled meeting is January 12th, 2021 at 5:30 PM. Where'd this year go?
Yes, sir.
Right?
Well, also, right before the meeting, just talking about meeting dates, Mr. Smith has brought to our attention that we'll need to have a resolution for the board to approve, so we'll need to have a special meeting on the 17th.
December
So
17th.
we'll be advertising that, but we'll be having that meeting on the 17th at 10. So just kind of, because we did bring up the next meeting be on the 12th, actually, we'll probably have to have that special meeting on
Okay.
the 17th.
Okay.
Just so everybody's familiar. We'll send out notifications and remind everybody.
Are you thinking
Which is
5:30 like we normally do or?
10,
Ten-
try to,
10 o'clock.
knock it out in the morning.
Okay, cool. You're good.
You want me to send you a wake-up call?
I'm sorry.
All right, anything else coming from the board from the commissioners? Seeing none, this meeting is adjourned.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas.
Yes, sir.
Thanks, man.